Hello, my name is Christopher Emanuel, the Director of Infrastructure and Governance Policy at the Florida Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to another edition of the Florida Chamber's Bottom Line. Today we're fortunate to have a good friend of the Chamber and a good personal friend, Adam Basford from the Florida Farm Bureau. Adam, thank you for being here.
Glad to be here, Chris.
With the conclusion of the 2018 legislative session, how's the Farm Bureau sitting? How was session for Florida's agricultural community?
You know, we entered session talking about disaster. Hurricane Irma had a huge impact on the state as a whole and agriculture specifically. About $2 billion worth of damage was done to agriculture through Hurricane Irma, and that was where session started focused, and we're glad that the legislature saw that fit to start that way. We had a few other things during session that took the focus away from that, but ultimately at the end of the day, at the end of the session, there were some provisions that really helped agriculture to deal with the damage that was done from Hurricane Irma, and we're really happy about that.
I know Hurricane Irma impacted a variety of agricultural industries. Which ones were the hardest hit, and which ones were the ones that are going to be the most benefiting from this legislation?
Right, so the citrus industry obviously has been dealing with citrus greening and a lot of devastating diseases over the past few years and was hit specifically hard. But also the nursery industry, you can imagine with all the infrastructure that they have, all the greenhouses and things that they have were hurt pretty hard, as well as the cattle industry, the dairy industry. Basically all parts of Florida agriculture that were impacted, that were touched by the storm, had pretty hard hit. So there was not much other than the panhandle that escaped.
One thing we're hearing from a lot of our members is about NAFTA, potential for it to be modernized. How would that help Florida's agricultural community?
NAFTA has been an issue that we've been focused on for a long time. A lot of American agriculture has really benefited from NAFTA over the years. You look at the corn and the beans and the hogs and the beef that we've been able to export to Mexico specifically has been a huge boon for that part of the ag industry. But the specialty crops that we grow in Florida directly compete with a lot of those Mexican crops, and they don't have the regulatory issues that we have in the state, dealing with chemicals, land use, even labor, things like that. So they have a lot of competitive advantages in that realm, and they've even gone so far as to dump produce here into the state. We've had several dumping cases against Mexico where they have actually sold crops at a loss just to get market share. So modernizing NAFTA, we feel, is very important. And so we hope at the end of the day we'll continue to be able to have that fair and free trade that has benefited the traditional crops, but also be able to take care of some of the problems we've long had with the specialty crop sector.
The Florida Chamber Foundation has been focused on 2030 and what the future of Florida looks like in the next decade or two. What does the future of Florida's agriculture look like in the next 2 decades?
I can guarantee that it'll look different. I mean, we've got a lot of challenges that we've been facing. I mentioned citrus greening. What other kind of storms, what other kind of markets are going to be opened up? I mean, you look at the amount of people that are continuing to come into Florida and the way we use our land. All of that is going to be different. But had you asked this question in 1980 or even 1990, I'd be saying the same thing. Agriculture is going to look different. And so I'm sure that agriculture is going to look different, but we've adapted over time to continue to produce the food that we eat in America. I mean, Florida continues to be a major player in the agriculture world, and I guarantee you in 2030, Florida agriculture is going to be standing here working hard to produce food and other things that we as Americans need.
Thank you, Adam, for your time and for your work, and thank you to our viewers for watching another edition of the Florida Chamber's Bottom Line.